This video is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc. If you're looking for cards in the US, look no further as you can use the promo code MTGMUDSTA to get you 5% off anything on the site. Or if you're in Canada like me, you can use the same promo code at Multizone to get 10% off your orders of singles. If cards aren't what you're looking for, Original Magic Art has playmats, tokens, and sweet art that you can use that same promo code to help you get 5% off your order there. If you're looking to bling out your cards, using Alter Sleeves is a great way to do so, and you can click the affiliate link in my About section to help out the channel as you make an order. And if you just want to help out the channel, you can always consider becoming a patron for as little as $1 a month and join the generic Goblin Gang. Hey gang, and welcome back. Today's game was filmed at Kessel Run, and we have Brody playing his Esika deck, keeping a Thran Temporal Gateway, Biden of Thassa, Shizo Death Storehouse, Selvala Explorer Returned, Raf Capuchin, Cameo the Crescent Moon, and Yavimaya Cradle of Growth. Mike is playing Rienne, keeping Hunting Grounds, Gruul Rage Beast, 2 Mountains, Windswept Heath, Sneak Attack, and a Nova Blast Worm. Pascal is playing Garna, keeping 4 Swamps, Faithless Looting, Cathartic Reunion, and Demonic Tutor. Last but not least, Eric is playing his Orah Cleric's Tribal deck, keeping his Skemfar Shadow Sage, Glorious Protector, Herald's Horn, Tainted Field, Plains, Swamp, and a Selfless Glyphweaver. Mike wins the die roll and starts us off. He plays a Mountain for turn and passes. Pascal plays a Swamp and passes to Eric. Eric also plays a Swamp and passes. Brody just loves to go for walks in the woods and plays a Yavimaya Cradle of Growth to help his friends also do so. Mike plays a Windswept Heath and sacrifices it, losing 1, to go and find a Sacred Foundry and taking 2 so it comes in untapped. He casts a Hunting Grounds and passes. Pascal plays a Swamp and then pays 2 for an early Demonic Tutor. Eric plays a Tainted Fields and then casts a Morph Creature. Brody plays a Jando Castle for his land drop and passes. Mike plays a Rootbound Crag, passing turn. Pascal plays a Command Tower and then casts a Phyrexian Walker and follows up once that's done with a Sensei's Divining Top. Eric plays a Castle Lochthwain and then casts a Herald's Horn. It comes in and he names Clerics. Brody plays a Shizo Death Storehouse and then casts the creature half of Esika. Mike plays another Mountain and then casts an Iroas God of Victory. Pascal plays a Swamp and then taps 1 red for a Faithless Looting, drawing 2 and discarding 2. He then follows up with a Grim Haruspex and passes. Eric reveals from his Herald's Horn trigger a Frontline Medic and puts it to hand. He then plays Silent Clearing as his land for turn, and loses 1 as he taps the Silent Clearing to help cast a Frontline Medic. He still has enough afterwards for a Selfless Glyphweaver and passes turn. Brody has another legendary land for turn with a Shinka the Bloodsoaked Keep, and then swings his commander at Mike for 1. Mike just plays a Sneak Attack and passes turn. Pascal plays a Mountain for turn, and then casts a Blood Artist and then an Ashnod's Altar. Eric plays a land for turn and casts his commander Orah. At the end of turn, Brody flashes in a Raf Capuchin Ship's Mage. Brody plays a tap Seaside Citadel for turn and goes to combat, swinging his commander back at Mike. And Raf goes at Eric, and both of them just take the hits. Mike plays Rata Hair to Keld, but doesn't have a land for turn and has to pass. Pascal draws, and then uses Sensei's Divining Top to draw a card and puts the top on top. He plays a Mountain for turn, and he then casts a Crookshank Kobold. He sacrifices it once it's resolved to make 2 colorless mana, and he has Eric lose 1 while he gains 1 from the Blood Artist trigger. He then sacrifices the Phyrexian Walker, draining Eric again, and has 4 colors floating in his pool this time around. He then casts his commander, Garna, and with her Enter the Battlefield trigger on the stack, sacrifices her for more colorless, and drains Eric again with the Blood Artist before resolving the Garna trigger to return Garna, the Walker, and the Crookshank Kobold to hand. He then recasts the Kobold and the Walker again, and sacrifices the Walker for 2 more colorless, and then casts a Death Render. He uses the remaining mana to equip the Crookshank Kobold with the Death Render, but Brody responds at this point with an Urza's Ruinous Blast. This has Pascal once more responding and sacrifices the Kobold for 2 colorless mana, and the Blood Artist as well, and then the Grim Haruspex. He gets 3 Blood Artist triggers, all of which go into Eric, and also he gets to draw a few cards from the Haruspex, which he's been doing. He then flashes out Garna, and sacrifices her as well to get the creatures back to hand. With even more responses before the blast resolves, Eric flashes out a Glorious Protector and puts his creatures beneath the Angel. The blast then resolves, exiling all non-land, non-legendary permanents, and with Eric's Angel getting exiled, all of his creatures that were hidden under it come back. Priority then goes back to Pascal, who recasts the Kobold, the Grim Haruspex, the Blood Artist, and the Phyrexian Walker. He also has enough mana for a Priest of Nyx, and then casts a tapped Cold Steel Heart, and passes turn. Eric draws and goes straight to combat, swinging Orah at Brody, the frontline medic at Pascal, and the Glyph Weaver at Mike. Once those connect, he follows up with a Dam Overloaded in the second main phase because his creatures are now indestructible thanks to the frontline medic. Mike responds with his own Boros Charm, making his creatures indestructible, and Pascal gets to draw some cards from the Haruspex seeing his stuff dying. Not to mention continuing to drain Eric thanks to the Blood Artist triggers. Brody just draws, plays a land, and recasts Esika, passing turn. Mike taps out in his main phase to cast Rienne, and passes. Pascal draws and plays a land. He casts a Springleaf Drum, and then a Star Compass, and once those are done, reactivates his top that he'd cast earlier, and passes turn. Eric loses 3 life as he brings in an Agadeem the Undercrypt to have it come in untapped, and then moves to combat. He swings Orah at Pascal, the frontline medic at Mike, and the Glyph Weaver at Brody. Once they connect, he follows up with a Liliana Heretical Healer, and then a Phyrexian Arena. Brody plays a Cathedral of Serra, which gives all of his white legendary creatures bands with other legends, and then casts a Kami of the Crescent Moon. He follows up with a Selvala Explorer Returned, and then his own copy of Radha, Heart of Keld. On his turn, Mike draws 2, one from the Kami trigger and one from his draw step. He moves to his main phase and plays a land, and follows that up by casting a Dragon Broodmother before moving to combat. He swings his commander at Pascal, who takes the hit, and Mike then passes. On Pascal's turn, during Pascal's upkeep, Mike gets to make a dragon token with Devour, and he sacrifices Radha, which gets him a Rienne's delayed trigger, and the token comes in with +1/+1 counters. We then move to Pascal's main phase, and he casts a Necropotence, and dumps 19 life into it, exiling his top 19 cards to put to hand at the end of turn. He then shifts through his phases, putting them to hand, and then begins to discard down to hand size, exiling the cards he does. Eric draws his cards for turn and loses 1 from the arena, and he plays a Twilight Prophet, which gives him City's Blessing. He moves to combat, swinging Orah and Liliana at Pascal, and the medic at Brody, and they all just take the hits. Brody draws 2 for turn, and then activates Selvala, hitting 3 non-land cards. He then casts Reki, the History of Kamigawa, and follows up with Saskia, pointing the finger of doom at Eric. He also gets to draw a card from Reki. He then casts a Thran's Temporal Gateway, and moves to combat. He swings 6 points of damage at Pascal. Before moving to blocks, Pascal flashes out Garna and blocks Saskia, but still takes 3 from Radha, and this has Saskia triggering as well, dealing 3 to Eric. Mike draws and plays a land. He casts Swords to Plowshares, taking out Saskia. He then casts a Life's Legacy, sacrificing a 3/3 dragon and gaining 3 and drawing 3. He then casts a Thought Vessel and passes turn. Pascal activates his Sensei's Divining Top, drawing the top card and putting it on top. He then casts a Phyrexian Altar, having found another sacrifice outlet, which is no surprise considering he drew 19 cards last turn. He then casts Living Death, to which in response, Eric casts Plumb the Forgotten, sacrificing his board, losing 5 life, and drawing 5 cards. This has him flipping Liliana and making a zombie token as well. He then casts a Village Rites to sacrifice the zombie token and draws 2. Before Living Death resolves though, Pascal casts a Rakdos Charm to have all players take 1 equal to the number of creatures they control. Living Death then resolves, putting all creature cards from graveyards back into play, and putting all creatures from play into graveyards. With Garna's ability on the stack, Pascal sacrifices his commander to the altar for 1 red mana, and then casts Kobolds of Carekeep. He then sacrifices the Kobold for 1 red mana, and he follows up with a Rakdos, Lord of Riots. With Rakdos on the field, all of his creatures now cost 10 generic colorless less, which allows him to infinitely sacrifice his board and drain his opponents out with the Blood Artist and Garna triggers. Game review time. So that was a pretty sweet Garna win. I know Garna is definitely a combo-based commander, and Pascal and Harry have definitely showcased how strong the deck can be, especially when you play a bunch of very cheap costing creatures and sacrifice them for mana, and then bring them back to hand, and get to do it all over again. I do think that Brody's Urza's Ruinous Blast play was beautiful, and it was a great answer to the combo at the time, but unfortunately, he needed to have another one the second time around, which just didn't happen. I do love that Brody had some really weird inclusions, like the Cathedral of Sarah, but he committed really hard to keeping the deck as legendary tribal. Eric had originally introduced his Orah deck to me as something that made games go very long, so I was happy to see that this game didn't last 2.5 hours. That being said, I think he probably was missing a couple of key pieces, because I can't believe his Cleric deck is based around combat. Mike's deck sold me as soon as he told me the name, and he calls it his Reanimator deck, which is just a clever play on words. It was unfortunate that he wasn't able to abuse her ability too much, but having lost the sneak attack early on and having a handful of large creatures that he'd planned on cheating out with it, unfortunately he couldn't do a whole heck of a lot. This video wouldn't be possible without the help from my sponsors, Cool Stuff Inc., Multizone, Original Magic Art, and Alter Sleeves. But it definitely wouldn't be possible without the help from you, the viewers, and my patrons. So I just want to say thank you for watching, and to remember, friends are just opponents you haven't eliminated yet.